So I have a flat tire. In the past year, I think I've had 3 flat tires, which has been 3 times I've had to change one. And I hate it. And I hate it. And I hate it. You guys also know that I've been revising a manuscript for 3 years now. 3 flat tires, 3 years revising a manuscript. I feel like there's a trend here for this video. One of my absolute favorite things about reading a book is the characters. I mean, plot is awesome and fun, but for me, if I love a character in a story, then I will follow them wherever they go. So while I'm changing this flat tire today, I thought I would talk about how to fix flat characters. A couple of tools that I need for this video today, some inspirational gear. One of the first things you need to know is literally everything about your characters. Like when something goes wrong in your story, when the crap hits the fan, how are they going to react? What are they going to do? How are they going to shut down? And what are they going to turn to that can help fix their problems? Just like when my car gets another flat tire, I need to know how to fix it. I need to know where my tools are. So let's get started. First thing I need to do is figure out where my character actually went flat, because they don't always start out flat like this. Usually they start out pretty well. You've got a character that's pretty well-rounded and they're able to take you somewhere. Usually for me it's about the halfway point where my character falls flat. Alright, I've got the car raised up, I'm ready to dive in, but first I gotta kind of take apart my character and figure out all the components and see where things are maybe going wrong. Voice, their history, their backstory, the quirks, the different things that make them unique, the things that they desperately want and need as they're going through the story, and then also their relationship with other characters. There are several other things, but for me, these are kind of the 5 things that I look at as I'm going through a story. Let's take a quick break here to talk about voice, because I finally got this off. It's hard to talk about it, it's hard to fix it, because voice is something that's so unique to each character, but also to each writer. Voice really is just kind of like how you write that character, what makes them, how do they sound. I don't even know how to define voice. I think it's just something that makes a character and the way that you write that character. Where does voice fall out of place in your story? Again, I'll use Meadow from the Murder Complex. Meadow's voice and the way that she talks and she thinks is very short and concise. She doesn't waste time on too many words because to her life is short and very fleeting. For Meadow, what's in life is very moment to moment. There is a big sense of urgency in everything that she says, thinks, and does. No time for lengthy descriptions or gorgeous prose, because that's just not Meadow, and that's not the world that she lives in. So for me, when I was writing her character and she started to feel kind of off, the first thing I would look for is, does she still feel short and sweet and concise? Does she still feel kind of punchy in the way that she says things and the way that she thinks about things? People are gonna notice when it doesn't feel like it's Meadow's chapter, but it doesn't feel like Meadow's speaking to them anymore. So always look out for the voice when you feel like your character is flat. Do they still feel like them? Do they still sound like them? Let's move on to the next one. No shame. Let's talk really quick about character quirks. When a character falls flat, I like to look at their quirks, the things that make them interesting and unique. Are they missing some of those things? Because if you think about it, we all have quirks. We all have things that make us different in the world. Look at your character. Do they have a funny way that they laugh? Do they have anything that makes them endearing? Are they interesting to the point where they have like a hat that they love and they never want to do anything without? Do they speak to their dogs like they're humans? To me, that's not a quirk, that's just normal. Think of what draws you to someone in real life. The people that you love, the people that you think are interesting, do they have funny phrases that they use? Do they clutch their necklace when they're nervous? Do they cross their feet every time they're sitting down? Do they think that mangoes are an evil fruit or that ducks are animals that should never exist? Give them something that makes them interesting. Don't let them fall flat. My want and my need right now is bacon. Another incredibly important part of a character is their wants and their needs. Every character has something that they want so deeply, sometimes they don't even know that they want it. In the Hunger Games, Katniss's need at first is to get through the Hunger Games, to survive so she can get back home to Prim and her mother. But later on, she starts realizing that she needs to destroy President Snow. If they lose that want, they lose that deep desperation, they lose the reader, they lose everything. and then again, they've fallen flat. So go back through. Figure out what your character wants, what they need, what they feel like they can't live without. If they have some massive end goal of finding some magical artifact and they need it so desperately that they can't function until they find it. If they're trying to save someone, or if they just really want love. Look for those things. Look for the moments where they've lost that need, they've lost that desperation, and then fix it. The next one we're going to talk about is backstory, and this is one of my absolute favorite parts of writing a character. Typically, a character will fall flat if they don't have a very interesting backstory, or they might not have one at all. Where do they come from? What makes them different? What things led them to where they are now because of their past? A great example of this is Kaz Brekker, and I think he has a super heartbreaking past, and it's led him to do some really dark things in Six of Crows, but we love him despite what he does because we understand his past. I love when you can find a character that has links to the past. If yours doesn't, bring those in, find them, write an entire history for them, and remember, you don't have to put all those things in the story. It's important that you as the author know those things so that later you can put them in little woven moments throughout sentences or paragraphs or maybe in dialogue. In Zenith, you're going to see tons of backstory moments, and it's really awesome because you really get to know a character and who they used to be and who they are now, and then that helps you as a reader wonder what they're going to do in the future. The 100 does an awesome job at this. You see Octavia, the girl from under the floor. You see Clark, who has this really heartbreaking past with Wells and her mother and her father. Think about your characters, think about their backstory. How can you weave those in? Are you going to do flashback moments? Are you just going to talk about them? Backstory helps shape a character and give them motivation. Don't let them fall flat. Look for the backstory. The last one we're going to talk about is your character's relationship with other characters. For me, making my characters have friends and enemies and lovers is also another really fun part. How do they act with the other characters in your story? We live in a world that's full of relationships, and so it makes sense that our books should have relationships in them. If you have a character that's completely alone, not having any involvement with any other characters, then you're gonna let it fall flat. Does your character have an enemy? Does your character have a best friend? Do you have a trio of friends? Do you have a giant group of friends? How do they act when they're together? Is there fun, witty banter? Are there dramatic fighting moments where they say things that they are gonna regret saying? Bonds you can form and the bonds you can break are the things that are gonna really reach a reader. In our world, we live, we communicate, we yell at each other, we apologize for things. These are all things that are real, and it's about relationships. So look for those things with your character, find out who they love, who they hate, who they want to be friends with, who they might pass by and realize, oh, that's kind of an attractive person. If you don't have those moments, then you've got to add them in. Once you've applied these 5 things to your characters, you should be back on the right track so that you can go from this to this. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget that I love you, God loves you, and please don't forget to love yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye!